Hey y'all, I want to welcome you to a new episode of Crown and Convos, where every jewel you receive here gets you one step closer to receiving your crown from God. Now, y'all, these jewels are not intended for you to just take, save them in your back pocket for a rainy day. What you want to do is take them back to God and start your own conversation with Him, where He will provide you with insight, instruction, and increase. I am your host, Aaliyah, and I'm so happy you're joining me today. So you guys, we are going to get back into the series of Why Does God Make Us Wait? And if you remember, this series started maybe about May or April, late April, early May. It stemmed from a series that I did about what to do when God is changing your life so much. So when you have a whole bunch of different changes going on, what do you do with that? But then God gave me the idea of, okay, what do you do in the opposite when there is no change? When God has spoken a promise to you and it has not happened yet. There's been 2, 3, 20 years and you have not received your promise. What are you supposed to do and why has that happened? Right? So if you remember, I started this series off with the first reason why God makes us wait is because sometimes we're waiting on something that God did not tell us. Right? So we have this great idea. We even think that we're going to use the idea to glorify or honor God in any type of way. But we missed one crucial step, which is going back to God, taking this idea back to God and saying, God, is this what you want me to do? Like, do I have your sign off on this? Can I have your permission to do this? We have not asked God, does this coincide with His plan for our lives at all? We got this plan and we just ran with it, right? So we've been working and toiling and we've been doing all of the jizz and jazz, and it's not even a part of His will for our life. So that's the first reason. The second reason is because we're not mature enough. And since maturity, there are so many different levels of maturity: emotional intelligence, spiritual maturity, financial literacy. Like, there are so many different levels to maturity. And the first one that God gave me was spiritual maturity, right? So when you exit the world, your life within the world, and you begin your new life with Christ, things are going to look completely different to you. How you hear things is going to be different. You ever hear those people who listen to a song and they can take a spiritual meaning from it? It's a whole R&B rap song, and they can take a whole spiritual meaning from it, because in that moment they have allowed the Holy Spirit to discern in that message another message for them, right? So they know the difference between God talking, them having an idea, the devil talking, their friends talking. Like, they know the difference. They have high discernment. They have God's understanding. They have God's wisdom and know how to decipher God in anything, right? Even me, like, I can roll past a billboard and see a message from God. I'm one of those people who could listen to an R&B song. This has happened before, where I'm listening to an R&B song and I'm just laughing and vibing with the song. And 3 minutes into the song, I am boohoo crying because God has spoken to me through that song, right? So God can use any and everything, and it takes someone of spiritual maturity to be able to decipher it. So you have that. And of course, you have the religious people that say, God will not use that. God will never use that. You better know God for yourself in order to know that God can and use everything, because God has called everything good, right? God has created everything to be good. It is the enemy that has come and distorted our view of things. That's why we have sage and holy anointing oil. That's why we have law of attraction manifestation, and we have praying and fasting. That's why we have the universe versus God, right? The enemy has come and created a version of everything that God has created, and he has thrown it into the world to have people dispute who God is and to take up these new idols, these new things to, have them be the end all be all, but that's not what it is. God is the end all be all, right? So, the funny thing about that is the enemy will always try to stay close to God. Like, I have people around me, not none of my friends, but like I've seen posts and stuff where people in one message will claim to be of God, a woman of God, and then in the same message say, oh yeah, you could be a witch too. Y'all know the witch worships evil and the devil, right? You can't do witchcraft and worship God. That's literally the opposite. It's like they're literally on opposite ends of the spectrum. You can't do that. But you notice how the enemy, the people of God who truly follow God, they don't look to be connected to evil. They don't look to be connected to the devil in any type of way. But the devil is always looking to be connected to God. If you feel like you're a witch, why would you even talk about God? You feel what I'm saying? Like, don't be connected to us. Stay over there. Right? So that's spiritual maturity. Knowing God, being able to discern what God said, even when he using the Bible, understanding that you could read this scripture right here and God can minister it to you in a completely different way. And guess what? He can do that many times over. Today on July 10th, he can minister it this way, and next week he can minister that same scripture in a completely different way. Right? So that is the spiritual maturity that you need in order to obtain the promise that God is giving to you. Right? So now the third one is going to be emotional intelligence. And that's what we're talking about today. And I actually recorded this episode like a month and a half ago. But with everything that I have going on in my life now, God, I feel like he's redirecting me to like redo it, right? Because I have better examples that I can use now. Plus, God is even building on my emotional intelligence. Like he's helping me, because I'll be honest, I didn't think I was like at the highest level of emotional intelligence, but I thought I was a little bit further than where I am, right? Because I know my emotions, I know how I feel, I know what's fact versus feeling, and I know XYZ, but God has just been revealing a completely different level of this to me. And this is why we need that spiritual maturity, because God can break something down to you deeper. It gets deeper. Right? So let's start off with last night. So last night, I'm just sitting there and I'm sleepy. So I'm about ready to go to bed. And so I'm like, well, God, let's talk before I go to bed. Like, let's get a conversation going. Give me something, let's talk. And so I'm like, well, how you want to start the conversation? And I was already about to make tea, which is something that I haven't done in a while. And he was like, just get the little message off the tea. And I'm like, oh yeah, they do have that on the Yogi tea bags. They have a little message. So I'm like, oh yeah, I'm gonna get that. So I done came downstairs, got my water together, get the tea, and I get the tea, and the message, I'm gonna insert it here. But the message says, forgiveness is an act of consciousness. Forgiveness is an act of consciousness. So I'm like, what you mean by that? Because, I'm going through something with my best friend, who I revealed to y'all last week is whom God said is my husband. So I'm going through something with him right now. But I've been doing like some talking to God and stuff like that. So I'm thinking in my heart, I'm in a much better place with him, even though we haven't talked things out. I'm feeling like, I ain't really mad at him like that before. No, like, I'm not really mad at him like that like I was. So, what I'm supposed to forgive? Like, what you want me to forgive? Did he do something? Is he about to do something now? Like, are you trying to prepare me for a battle? Like, what is it? So, Holy Spirit leads me to go look up the word consciousness. And the definition that I got, it says the Cambridge Dictionary defines consciousness as the state of understanding and realizing something. The state of understanding and realizing something. Okay. Forgiveness is an act of consciousness. Okay. It's an act of me looking to understand and realize something. Okay. Then I look up the word forgive. What does forgive mean? Forgive means to stop feeling angry or resentful towards someone for an offense, a flaw, or a mistake. Stop feeling angry or resentful towards someone for an offense, flaw, or mistake. Okay. All right, like I'm hearing you, like, but I'm not mad at him no more, right? I'm good. So what are you trying to say? Like, what is it? So then I asked him, okay, well, give me a scripture to like really support what you're saying. And so what I do, Also, y'all, I got a new phone. So what I do is I usually open the Bible app and I just scroll and I just, wherever Holy Spirit tells me to stop, that's where I stop. And sometimes I have my son to do it. So I'll just hand him the phone. I just handed it to him like this. This is the Bible app. This is the different books of the Bible. And I just tell him to click on something. So he'll click on something and he'll click on a number and then that's it. Right, so yesterday he clicked on Habakkuk chapter 3. Now, I've read this multiple times over, so I'm like, there's nothing in here but okay, I'm gonna just go ahead and read. Literally in the second verse, at the end of the second verse, it says, at the end of the second verse, it says, and in your anger, remember your mercy. I'm like, okay, I got you. Because we just talked about forgiveness means to stop feeling angry or resentful. So it says, in your anger, remember your mercy. So I went to, the part in the Bible app where you can compare the different versions, right? Y'all, that is so helpful because there are different words that are being used in each version, right? So I just click that verse and then I go to compare. And I went through all of them. I'm like, these ain't saying nothing until I got to the Amplified version. I could have shouted. The Amplified version says, in wrath, earnestly remember compassion and love. So this is what God means when he says mercy. He wants you to remember compassion and love. And in that moment, it makes so much sense. Things with my best friend. A lot of things, all the situations, everything that we've been through within the last 4 or 5 years have come to make sense to me. So I'm like, okay, all right. Now I can apply this to my emotional intelligence. So let's go ahead and break down emotional intelligence real quick. Emotional intelligence is the ability to manage both your own emotions and understand the emotions of people around you. Right? So when it comes to understanding your emotions and managing, because that's the key part, understand that you have emotions. They are not a weapon. They are not bad things. You just have to learn to flow with them. You have to learn how to navigate through your emotions. Just because you're mad right now does not mean you can go beat up everybody that you see. Just because you're sad right now, because you learned some bad news, does not mean you can go and set a house on fire, right? You have to be able to manage those emotions. But on the other end, it also means to understand the emotions of the people around you, being able to identify them. So like even when you go to the store and the cashier is snapping on you, don't take that personal. They done been standing on their feet for 10 hours. They have dealt with rude customers. They're exhausted. They're tired. And sometimes that comes out. Not to say that that's a right thing to do, but that's not for you to decide or determine. And one of the things that I'm learning when it comes with walking with God, one of the things that I have learned, because this applies to everything we associate with God, is being able to be of service to the people around us. But sometimes we get so caught up in our own emotions. Well, I'm having a bad day too, so that doesn't mean you can act like this in XYZ. But this isn't a moment about you. This is a moment about somebody else and you being able to understand their emotions and give them compassion and love and empathize with them, right? So God, when he broke that down to me, I already know that. But it helped put things into perspective with my best friend, because we've been going through something, I would say, for like the past month of June. Let me go back let me say this back. My best friend has always been the sweetest, most kindest, most gentle person, not man, person I know. Just pure. Always just pure. I call him the calm to my storm or the beauty to my beast. Because out of us two, I'm the one that's ready to tear something up. He is the calm one. He's the one, when I'm mad and I call him, he's usually able to get me back together. Only him and God. I call him that, right? That's who he is to me. That's who he has been for me and to me. But the month of June, I started experiencing a different version of him. He was a little more snappy. He was a little more what I would deem as rude. And I didn't like it. But I applaud myself because I flowed with him. So when he would be up here, I would be down here with it. Hey, I'm not trying to fight with you. Like, we're good. You good? You fine? You straight? I'm trying to comfort him. I'm trying to let him know that I'm there. And initially, when it first happened, so I'm gonna put it like this. He's a bartender. I went to his job and sat with him one night, and I made a joke. I asked him a question. He didn't like it, and he said something I ain't like. And I was like, did you just say that to me? And he was like, well, why would you do? And I'm like, hey, like, I don't want to fight with you. I'm not here to fight. I love you. I don't want to fight with you. So he apologized. And later on, when he walked me to my car, I was like, hey, you already apologized for it. I see that you're tired and stuff like that. Again, that empathy and that compassion, me seeing how tired he looks, me looking at him and seeing how exhausted and overwhelmed he is with doing his work. I empathize with him, so I completely put it out the back of my mind. It wasn't nothing that I was going to harbor on. When we was walking to the car, I'm like, hey, can we not make it a habit of doing that? You know, because it was somebody around, somebody witnessed it. And I'm somebody who's very strong on, when your partner protects you, they're not just protecting you from like a car jumping the curb and hitting you, or they're not just protecting you from a wild bear. Like, they protect you from the people that's around too, so they don't disrespect you, because I feel like it opens the door for other people to they don't disrespect you because it opens the door for other people to disrespect you, right? So I'm one of those people that's like, if we at odds behind closed door. We not doing that in front of nobody. We a team player. Everybody finna think I'm just madly in love with you when I'm in their face. When we get back home, I might not talk to you. Right? So that's just the type of woman that I am. I don't play that, you know, doing that out in the streets and stuff like that. So when I said that to him, he got defensive. And again, I'm not used to him being like this, but I'm like telling him, like, bro, I'm not trying to fight with you. Like, I'm letting you know how I feel about this. Like, let's not do that. Like, don't do that no more. And he was like, well, if you don't do this, then I won't do that. Again, I'm so not used to him like that. Like, I'm used to when we be at odds with each other, he's not really well, you did this, so I did that type person. He's more so like okay, I could work on that. He's that kind of person. So for him to like flip it and turn it back on me off of something so little, I'm like, yo, it's not even like that. So as he's standing in my car door and I'm still talking to him, I'm like, hey, I'm being like the little soft, hey, it's okay. I'm not, like, I'm doing all that. And his attitude, like, I said his name and he was like, what, bruh? So my mood switched, and I didn't go off on him, but I was ready to hop in my car and just pull off. Like, I don't got nothing to say with you, because you're not listening to me. You're not trying to bend on what it is that I'm saying to you. You still trying to say that it's about me, and it's really not about me. So that was that. That was the first incident. After that, I went and talked to God. So I've had some crazy type relationships. I've been in abusive relationships. I've been in relationships where the man just completely disrespected me, called me out my name, and all this and that. I've also been in relationships where I've disrespected the man. And you know what I'm saying? I've done that. So I'm not a victim to nothing that I've done or been through or nothing like that. Because it's in the past. I'm not a victim. I don't play victim. They were all choices that I made. But I have a fear. Now that I have learned to love myself, now that I know my worth, now that I treat myself like a queen, like I give myself princess treatment. I ain't waiting for no man to give me no princess treatment. I give myself that. If I want to go out and spend $500 on something, or I want to do that and take myself to this luxury place, that's what I do. I'm not waiting on nobody to do that. I treat myself like a queen. And so I look to always be treated like a queen. It's not specific to this man or that man, or just how I feel about myself. You gonna know how I feel about myself. Clearly, it's not no secret. It's not something that I'm keeping hidden. You're going to know how I feel about myself, about how I treat myself, how I speak to myself, how I speak about myself, how I feel about myself. You will know. And I have a fear of, if I allow a man to slip up with something, that I'm gonna lose all of that progress. I have a fear that if I allow a man to get away with doing something that I deem as disrespectful, that he's going to feel like it's okay to continue doing that, and he's just gonna run off with it. Like, let's just be real. Let's talk about abusive relationships. Men don't just walk up to women and punch them in the face. It builds up. First, they're gonna yell at you. Then they might call you at your name. Then they might push you. Then they might pull on you. Then they might choke you. Now, at the end, they full-blown punch you in the face, kicking you in the stomach, putting a gun to your head. Like, let's just be clear. This is how that abuse happens. Men like to look and see what they can get away with. So I feel like if I allow any red flag to just go off, anything that I deem as disrespectful, if I don't address it, a man is gonna look at that as an opportunity, and he gonna think it's an open door to just do me all type of ways. And I get scared that maybe I didn't learn my lesson, so maybe it'll be easy for me to go backwards. Maybe it'll be easy for me to fall into an abusive situation again, right? And that's a fear of mine. That's a real life fear. So when he did that to me, of course I took it to God, but I'm like, I don't want to marry him. I don't want to deal with somebody who act like that. Like, again, he's not no disrespectful person, but he did something that I really did not like. I really did not appreciate it. And I'm like, I don't want him to think that he can do that all the time. It's like, I'm not dealing with that. I don't want to deal with that. And I remember at the same time, I don't know if y'all remember the Soul Food series with like Vanessa Williams and Nicole Ari Parker and Boris Kodjoe and Melinda Williams. I don't know if y'all remember that series. It's a series that my mom used to watch when I was little, and y'all, she used to have VHS tapes recording that thing. This was back in like 2002, 2003 and stuff like that. And so I had started watching the series again on YouTube. And I was actually, at the same time that this was happening, I was at the episode where they had got into a real bad car crash. And Kenny, who was a business owner, he was now bedbound because he had just had back surgery. And his wife, who was a stay-at-home mom, she was now having to work to make sure his business didn't get closed down. And she was working hard and doing all this and that. And he was so mean to her. He was so mean. Like, it hurt me to see him being mean to her like that, because she literally doing everything she can to keep them afloat, to still be there for him, to still be there for the kids. Like, she's doing everything, and he just rude. I remember one episode, she was like going through the checkbook paying bills, and he was like, oh, you probably done messed up my system. You don't know what you're doing. Like, he was just talking down to her. And she just took it, y'all. She didn't say nothing. When he was like that with her, she wasn't disrespectful back. She'd be like, well, Kenny, how am I supposed to do it? How do you do it? You know, she asked him questions. Like, she offered that compassion and that love to him. And I admired how she was, but it also ignited that fear in me, because I'm like, I don't know if I can deal with that. And when God started speaking to me, he was like, that's what I'm trying to put you through right now. So I'm used to my best friend always being the supportive one that wanted to resolve an issue. There have been plenty times where, like, we'll be going through something and I'm completely at fault. And it'll hurt me knowing that I hurt him. Not in some manipulating way, but he just know how I care about him. So he know that I don't be, even in my attitudes and stuff like that, he know that I don't look to hurt him or make him feel no type of way. So I remember this time we was talking, he was like, do you have, like, you expect me to do things that I don't have to do in XYZ? And I'm like, I don't expect you to do nothing. And he's like, so you don't have expectations of me? And I'm like, no, like, I don't expect nobody to do nothing. And he asked me that like a couple times afterwards. And I'm like, no, like, stop asking me that. I don't have no expectations. And finally, like, I was going through something with God, and God ministered to me. You do have expectations of him, because you got expectations of me to do stuff in your time, in the way that you want it to be done. So you do have expectations of him. And when I learned that, I cried so hard, because I didn't realize that I was trying to impose my way of doing things on him. This is something that we had already been through, and I thought I had stopped it. So I didn't realize that I was still doing it, just in a different way. So then when I came, to stop crying, I did call him and I said, I do have expectations of you, and that hurts me, because that's not like, I don't want to expect you to do nothing. I want you to be led by God, or I want you to, trust yourself, whatever I said. But what he did next is something that he always does, which is he consoled me. He let me know I wasn't alone. And he's like, well, I have expectations of people too. Like, I think that's just how people, we just have that. We don't know that we have that. He did not make me feel like I was alone in that. He also comforted me in letting me know that it was okay. Like, yeah, it was something that he didn't like, but it was okay. Like, he accepted that I had those expectations of him. It was another time where we was talking about something, and I was crying to him, and I was like, well, I'm sorry. Like, I'm sorry that I still handle it like this, and I'm sorry that I did that. And he was like, well, no, don't look at it like that, because you handled it differently than you did last time. So no, you're not as bad as you think you are. Or he would even be like, well, maybe I can do this, maybe I can do this, and it'll help you with that. That's the type of person that he has been. So, and because of that, I have always asked God, I want to be able to be for him what he has been for me. God, in November of 2022, I told him for Thanksgiving, he reminded me of the story of Ruth and Boaz. Because Ruth had went through so much stuff, and then she finds herself working in this field, but that belongs to Boaz, and he just starts caring for this girl. Like, he looks out for her. He makes sure none of the people bother her. He making sure she's fed and she had water. He's covering her. He's then having people go pick stuff out and put it on the ground so that it's easy for her. Like, he's just making things easy for her in this process. He's not favoring none of them other women the way that he favored Ruth. And my best friend reminded me so much of that, because when I became friends with him, I don't think either of us knew about the journey we were about to start with my healing and me growing and me needing to do the things that I needed to do because God had a calling on my life. We became friends end of 2019, early 2020. God didn't tell me the promise of him being my husband until the end of 2021. So we just did not, and I want to say maybe the work started in 2022, my internal work. But we just did not know that we were about to go on that journey. But he covered me. He allowed me to be this emotional person who went from this emotion extreme to the next emotion extreme, and he stayed grounded. He let me hop around him with all these different emotions that I have, and he stayed grounded so that when I came back to him, his emotions, his feelings for me had not changed. He still wanted to be my friend. He still cared about me. He still wanted to be there. I, on the other hand, could not do that. I could not allow somebody to hop around from emotion to emotion and still be grounded and stable in who I was. Or not in who I was, but our relationship, how our relationship was going to be. I couldn't do that at that time. So I always wanted to be able to do that for him, to give him the space to grow into the man he's supposed to be without me trying to impose who I think he should be onto him. Because he never did that to me. He allowed me the space to be all the many different versions of myself that I've been. I said this in one of my earlier episodes. I've been about 20 different versions since being friends with him. He's been there to witness all of them. He's been there to witness me go from this, back here, back. Like, he's witnessed so many different transformations in the short time we've been friends. And I've always wanted to be that for him. When God told me that he was my husband, I could not be that for him because I started having expectations of, you supposed to be acting like a husband right now. Why are you not asking me what my ring size is? Why are you going on dates with other girls? Why are you spending the night with other girls? Like, you're not supposed to do that. You a whole husband out here. What's wrong with you? Right? So I did not give him the space to be the man that he needed, that God needed him to be. Not even me, or not even the man he needed to be a husband. Like, this is so above this. That's little. It's who God is calling him to be. I didn't give him that space. So I always wanted to give him that space. I always wanted the opportunity to give him that space. So let's go back to the current scene of me at his job and him being me. So when I took that to God, and God let me know that he's trying to build me into, he's giving me what I wanted, which is I wanted to be able to be that for him, to give him the space to grow, to have him feel all his different emotions, and not trying to impose nothing on him, but to be gracious and to be compassionate and loving. So I'm like, oh, and I did that right? God then gave me an A+ for how I handled him at his job that day. So I'm like, oh, okay, I could do this. Give me some more. Throw some more at me. I don't know why I asked for that. God threw so much at me. I said, listen, you and that man, y'all both gonna have to get up out of here with that. Y'all both doing too much. Because I already know that you're having me to deal with this to continue building me into that partner, but he doing a little too much with the smart remarks and stuff, because at this time, now where I am, I don't handle people the way that I used to. So I'm not sarcastic. I'm not smart with y'all. Y'all, I promise on everything that I love. Somebody text me right now getting smart, I'm just not gonna respond. If somebody at a gas station gets smart with me, I'm just not gonna respond. If my mama gets smart with me, I'm just not gonna respond. Right? Because God calls me to be a whole different other version. So I can't be sarcastic, and I can't get smart, and I can't get an attitude and be rude. Because what'll happen is he'll have me come and apologize to you immediately. And I don't got time to be apologizing for something that I meant. I don't got time, so I don't even go through with it. God done had me to apologize to somebody for a thought that I had, or the position of my heart. I ain't even say what I wanted to say out loud, but he knew I thought it, he knew I felt it, and he had me to apologize. So I ain't got time to just be issuing apologies left and right. So I keep my mouth closed, and I give it back to God. So yeah, he had been doing too much. Like, I really wasn't gonna take him for his Father's Day thing, because he made me mad the day right before that. So I wasn't trying to like deal with him. He was just getting on my nerves. It became overwhelming for me, because again, I'm feeling like I'm putting myself in a situation where somebody now thinks it's okay to mistreat me. Somebody thinks it's okay to not be compassionate with me, to be rude to be mean to me. I'm willingly allowing myself to do this, so I must not love myself anymore. These are the thoughts that I'm having, and so now I'm asking God, like, why are you even allowing this to happen? Because I'm not gonna talk to him no type of crazy way. So he's gonna give me some energy that I'm not gonna give him back. And at this point, he knows that, because he knows like how I look to honor and respect him with everything that I do and everything that I say. So now it's like, you know I'm not gonna say nothing out the way to you. So why would you say that? You know I'm not gonna disrespect you, so why would you do that? Right? So like it's making me angrier at what is going on within this process. And so in this self-discovery, that just came to me, self-discovery, because God revealed to me why I fight him so hard when he makes a mistake, why I get so irritated when he does something that I don't like. It's because I have that fear. I have a fear of allowing somebody to disrespect me. And that's the biggest part of emotional intelligence that God just revealed to me last night. You have grown way further than you would have thought. You'll have to do a lot to go back to the version of you from before. Right? You have to go back years. I'm thinking that it's easy for me to mess up and be back where I was before and allow mistreatment like I did before. God is telling me to trust myself. Trust myself and trust the work that he has done within me. Understand that I'm not the same version of myself that I used to be. Understand that it's not that easy for me to go back because I done healed in a whole other way that nobody expected. So how I feel about people, forget how I deal with people, how I feel about people, how I value people, that is completely different from who I was in 3 years ago when I used to talk to people all type of ways. I love to be of service to people. So I love to respect people. I love to love on people. This is who I am. So in order for me to move backwards and to be who I used to be, bro, I would have to start hating people all over again. I would have to pick up hurt to be this hurt version of somebody who now wants to guard herself and doesn't want to love people anymore. God is telling me now to trust myself, right? So let's go back to the definition of consciousness, which was the state of understanding and realizing something. So I feel like that the little message, God is telling me to forgive myself for the past. To forgive myself for the things that I have allowed to happen. To forgive those men for mistreating me. To forgive myself for allowing that mistreatment and for even mistreating them. Because I ain't never just let nobody do me all type of ways. I did wrong too. So, I need to realize where this fear comes from. I need to understand where this fear comes from. Because when I communicate with my best friend, I need to know and understand who he is and who it is that I'm communicating with. I'm not communicating and talking with somebody from the past. I'm dealing with somebody who I know who they are to their core. And it's so funny because when we get into it, sometimes when I tell him that he's hurt me or something like that, he'll be like, but that's not my intention, so why would you take it like that? And I'm very strong on your intentions and your actions have no bearings on each other. You can intend to do something a great way and still do something that hurts somebody else. If you walk past me and you step on my toe, you had no intentions of stepping on my toe. That did not stop the fact that you stepped on it and you broke it. Right? So intentions and actions is two different things. But now I'm understanding what he's saying, which is I know who it is who I'm dealing with. Right? God said you will know a tree by their fruit. I know who it is. I know our friendship is fruitful. So why am I scared? Why am I scared that if I allow him to have a bad day, that I'm just setting myself up for a bad life? Why is that fear so strong? Because I'm not trusting myself. Because I'm not trusting the work that God has done within me. On the other end, so let's talk about emotional intelligence. Managing your emotions, noticing them, managing them, navigating through them. Let's just be clear. Everybody has feelings. Feelings are not a bad thing. And I grew up with my feelings being weaponized. I grew up like how little boys grow up. You know how they tell little boys you can't cry, you can't express your emotion, that's a weakness. I grew up like that. The women in my family, they was like that with us. All that crying, no, you don't need to be crying. Oh, you got a heartbreak. I didn't raise you to be weak like that. Like that's how they were with us. So I grew up thinking that who I was in my core, which is an emotional woman, that was wrong, that was bad. And so my emotions turned to anger. I became a very angry person because I was not able to express my emotions. I wasn't able to express happiness. I wasn't able to express sadness. So all I could express was anger, which caused me to have a really short temper, which caused me to have a low tolerance and a low vibe for people. I did not like people. I just didn't. So one of the first things that God had to relate to me was, I made you to be an emotional woman. So your emotions are not weapons. They are not bad things. But you are hyper emotional, which means you're going to run off every relationship that I'm trying to bring your way. Because you are highly offended by everything somebody does. Everything somebody says. You cannot be in a healthy relationship being like that. Everything somebody says, you're offended or you're mad or you're hurt. You will never be in a successful, healthy friendship, marriage, co-worker relationship, be successful at a job. You will never be in those type of things if you act like that. So God had to introduce me to the verse Proverbs 4:23, which is, guard your heart above all else, for it determines the course of your life. And there are scriptures in the Bible that says your heart is the most deceptive and most corrupt thing within your body. Your heart is, let me find that. Jeremiah chapter 17 verses 9 through 10 says, the human heart is the most deceitful of all things and desperately wicked. Who really knows how bad it is? But I, the Lord, search all hearts and examine secret motives. I give all people their due rewards according to what their actions deserve. And so God has said right here that our heart is deceitful. And this is why we have to be able and willing to guard it. To guard what comes into it and to guard what goes out of it. To guard what goes into it and to guard what goes out of it. Now, y'all know, or you should know, God dwells within our heart. God dwells within our heart. So God is not going to live in no corrupt space or no corrupt place, right? So the work that he does when he begins working on our emotional intelligence, he begins to remove all the clutter that's in there, right? And he gives us a new way of seeing things, a new way to experience things. He gives us new ways to overcome those emotions, because guess what? Your feelings come and go. You could be happy right now and sad in 2 minutes. You could be sad right now and mad in 8 minutes. Your feelings come and go, but the feelings that you latch onto, the feelings that have stayed, those are the ones that you have chosen to stay. Those are the ones that you have attached to yourself. And this is why he says to guard your heart, because when you attach that anger to your heart, you're not going to act out of anger. When you have attached that sadness to your heart, you're going to act out of sadness, whatever that may be. It may just be lack of productivity in your life. Or it may be blowing up somebody's phone 200 times. You have to be careful about those emotions that you attach yourself to. Even fear. And that wasn't nobody but Holy Spirit, because I never even thought about fear being an emotion. But yes, fear is an emotion because it guards how you move. It guards the decisions that you make. It guards how you interact with people. I never thought about that. I never thought how I was allowing fear to interfere with how I interacted with people, especially those close to me. It's my closest relationships that fear influences how I act with them or how I allow them to act with me. That's just crazy. That I never thought about that. So yeah, managing your emotions It's understanding that fact is not feeling and feeling is not fact. I feel sad right now. Why do you feel sad? I feel sad because XYZ. I feel you did this to me. That's not a fact though. This is not to invalidate anyone's feelings, because I feel like all feelings should be validated because they are there to point something out. They're there to show somebody something. But then it is now your responsibility to seek what it is showing you. What did it just trigger? Okay, your boyfriend told you a lie. It triggers something, but a lot of the time, the stuff that is triggering is stuff that is deep within our hearts. So it's stuff that we're still trying to heal from our childhood, from our parents. Like, that healing goes so much deeper. It goes so much deeper than an argument with your boyfriend or an argument with your friend. So the feelings that you feel, they're absolutely there to point something out. So no one should invalidate them. Nobody should say, oh, you're crazy for feeling like that. I would never tell anybody that, not even myself. Those feelings are there to point something out. But then you have to learn how to navigate through that. You need to be able to sort through that. Okay, this is true. Okay, this is not true. Okay, this is not true. The new perspective God gives you when you begin healing, that is what you need to be using. You need to be looking to not be offended. One of the things God has told me is that I'm trying to give you a life that's not filled with hurt. Why do you not want that? Why do you want everything somebody says to be something that hurts you? Why do you want everything somebody says to be something that makes you mad? Do you want to be mad all day, every day? Me, now? Absolutely not. Maybe back then, yeah. But now, y'all, I get mad when I can't smile, when I'm going through something and I'm not smiling. I love laughing. I love making people laugh. I love cracking me a joke or 10. This is a hobby of mine at this point. I love it. I hate when I'm in a feeling a way where I don't want to do it, where I can't do it, because I'm just, I don't like that. And even there, God is telling me, okay, don't invalidate your feelings. Don't act like your feelings don't matter. But at the same time, you have to find a way to navigate through that. Your feelings cannot be what stops productivity in anything, and especially something that God is doing in your life. You telling me that what you're going through is so hard and so difficult, and it makes you feel this type of way, that you're not going to finish what God is telling you to do? That you're not going to be productive in what God is telling you to do? That you're not going to go to him and ask for the strength? God, I can't move right now, but I need you to give me the strength because I want to do this. This is what you asked for. You're going to feel so in your feelings that you don't complete God's work, God's assignment for you. That's why it says guard your heart, because it determines the course of your life. It determines what you want to do and how you want to do it. So this is the emotional intelligence when it comes to yourself. This is how you navigate through those moments for yourself. You understand that fact is not feeling and feeling is not fact. You understand that you can feel something right now and in 2 minutes you can feel something different. You understand that the feelings that you have latched onto are feelings that you have attached to your heart. That you have decided that this is how you want to feel. You just made me mad. You cut me off in traffic. You finna have my whole everything for the next 20 minutes. Because for the next 20 minutes, I'm about to talk about how you cut me off in traffic. And I'm going to get madder each time I talk about it. You have to be willing to just allow these feelings to flow through. And don't be so quick to make decisions, because when you do, it determines the outcome of your life, and it determines what God is trying to do within your life and how much it is delayed because you have allowed your feelings to lead you. On the other hand of emotional intelligence is how you deal with people, how you maneuver dealing with people who are difficult or not difficult. And that's what we are going to talk about on the next episode. So this one, it was a lot. I let God lead me in this because, like I said, I recorded this video like a month ago. I gave some points, but all of it is not the same. But I asked God to lead me in this because I know he's giving me new examples on how to deal with people, or even the how to deal with myself. And that self-discovery thing, like I'm telling y'all, God has had me in a ball for the last 24 48 hours with just understanding more things about myself, about why I do things the way that I do them. And it's healing, because when you allow God to bring those things to the surface, you're allowing him to clean you. When you allow him to bring that hurt to the surface, those feelings that you feel, when you allow him to bring them up, instead of trying to, because so many of us, we run from our emotions. We don't like how we feel, so we run from them. We bury them in our hearts, and then we go on about our way acting like we don't feel them, acting like they don't matter. No, when God is bringing them up, when you are in a situation where somebody is triggering you, or a situation feels too familiar, you need to go to God and allow him to heal you so that you can move forward for real. Because I've been thinking this whole time that I put my past and my past relationships back there. I left them back there. I don't associate with those men no more. I don't talk to them. I don't want to talk to them. I don't even handle people the same way. So I'm thinking I'm away from it. And turns out I'm not. Because I'm living out of fear. Because I'm allowing fear to dictate how I interact with the love of my life. And my best friend, I am deeply, madly, happily in love with him. And I know that man would never do anything to hurt me. But guess what? I've been living out of fear, thinking that his bad moments are going to cause him to feel like he can mistreat me or disrespect me on a regular basis. And that's not even his character. And I know that about him. And so I can see where God is putting me in a season or a time of isolation so that he can remove this out of me. So I can understand what's my feeling. I feel like you gonna mistreat me again. What's fact? God is not gonna put me with nobody who's gonna mistreat me. If God knows that these are the type of relationships that I've been in, why would he put me with somebody who's gonna put their hands on me? Why would he put me with somebody who's gonna call me out my name? Fact versus feeling. And you know, it's being able to sort through these type of things, going through that separation, that isolation, being able to sort through these type of things, it actually helps me when I bring these conversations back to him, because now I can express it in a different way. One of the things about it is he listens to everything that I say. He listens to every point that I bring to him. But if I'm not clear, if I'm just saying, well, I don't like that you yell at me, like you shouldn't do that. Yeah, why would you do that? If I'm just saying that, he's not understanding what it triggers in me. And although that trigger and that healing is on me, if he understands that, I know that he would think differently about it. But I need to be able to express it differently. And in order for me to express it differently, I have to do that self-discovery and learn how to manage my own emotions. Learn how to navigate through them. Okay, I feel this, but this is what I'm really feeling. I don't like that you yelled at me. Okay, but what I'm really feeling is if I continue to let you be like that, then you're going to feel like it's okay and you're going to become abusive. Okay, but what's the fact in that? God would not put me with somebody who's abusive, and my best friend does not have an abusive nature. This is new ground for me because, like I said, he doesn't even raise his voice. That's what I'm saying. Like, everything that we have experienced for the month of June is new to me, and it became a little overwhelming because I'm just not used to him being like that. But I also know he has been going through something. He hasn't told me, so it's not like he said, oh yeah, I'm going through this or that. But I know it because God has revealed it to me. And me just knowing him, I know that he's dealing with something. And this is why you have to be willing to be of service to people and not be so focused on your feelings, how you feel about something that somebody is doing to you. Don't take it personal. But again, that is something that we're going to talk about on the next episode because I can break it down a little bit easier. So yeah, y'all, this one was a little all over the place, but I do thank y'all for tuning in. Like I said, we are back to the series of Why Does God Make Us Wait? And I don't know, y'all, God is doing the thing. So I'm even though it's happening in my life, I'm just happy to witness it and testify about it. That's all I can say. So yeah, thank you guys for tuning in. I will see y'all on the next episode. Peace, love, and blessings to you all.